Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. As you know, we're here to celebrate a very special person's life, the life of Linda. We celebrate life and rather talk about how she was special to everyone here and how you all have your own thoughts, and in each of you in your own way have a part of Linda with you, because the people you are and the people you became are because she had been with you for some part of your life, and the things that she did influenced you in some way. So on behalf of the family, I thank you for being here for this celebration of life. And at this time, I'm going to let Dawn Pyle lead you through this service of remembrance, this celebration of life.
Good morning. Just look around and see everyone here who loved Linda. This is a time of love. I want to thank Rob and Andy for inviting me and allowing me to hold the significant and emotional honor of speaking at Linda's service. I told Linda, when she called to tell me about the cancer, that I wanted to speak at her service. However, I only meant I wanted 2 or 3 minutes. And you get me for longer than that today. I have set an intention to make it through the service without tears, because I know when a good friend of Linda's visited recently and started to shed some, she said, no, just go, no tears. I'm not guaranteeing that, because tears are appropriate in these moments, but I want so much to honor her fully in my comments. When I speak, I normally do not read a speaking engagement that I have. However, today I will be doing a lot of reading because I want to make sure that I say to you what is on my heart about Linda. As we celebrate today, allow images of Linda to flow through your mind. When I think of Linda, having lived down the street from her 4 houses for over 30 years, I think of Linda coming down the sidewalk in khaki shorts, very colorful tank tops. She always put these amazing colors together, you know? And she had on her turquoise, her silver, her rings, a cup of coffee in her hand. We wore that path between our 2 houses thin. And that is how I always think of Linda. Her hair was either flowing or it was pulled up in a big clip. When I wasn't hearing from Linda, because we talked almost every day after her diagnosis for a while, and then it began to get harder for her to breathe and to talk. And when I wasn't hearing from her, I knew that things were changing. And so I talked to Rob, and he let me know that she was back in the hospital, that they were hoping to improve her breathing. And I left her a voicemail, and I said, call me, because she had her cell phone, and it had all the minutes in the world. When I didn't hear from her, I knew. When I take a minute, you can take a minute. I called the nurses station and I asked if somebody would call me from her room. This was on Sunday night last week. I was literally walking a park I walk in, wishing Linda to be free. And every bird I would see fly in the park, I would just say, fly, Linda, fly. And by Sunday, I was thinking of getting in my car and driving up here on Monday, because today I was to be with Linda. This was my day to visit her. She had it on her calendar. And here we are celebrating her. A nurse called me from the room, a hospice nurse, and she said, I have Linda on speakerphone. And the nurse had also attended Laurel, so how great is that? We had this little kind of combination of 3 people on speakerphone in Linda's room. Now, Linda, knowing her, and many of you have maybe heard the same thing, Linda would say, "Hey, lady." So I knew if she had been able to greet me, she would have said, "Hey, lady." And I talked to her just as if we were having a cup of coffee. And then I said to her, "Linda, you know that I asked to speak at your memorial service. So I want you to be the first one to hear my comments." I had them mostly written, and I read them to her. Now, Linda and I wrote many, many, many progress reports together. Many. And when I went into administration, I edited hers. So we both know all the red penciling, and since I wrote those initial comments and read them to her, I have done some red penciling and re-edited, so it's a little bit different than what she heard, but not very. I want to read a poem by Mary Oliver, "When Death Comes." When death comes, like the hungry bear in autumn, when death comes and takes all of his coins from the purse to buy me, and the purse snaps shut, when death comes like the measles pox, when death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades, I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, this cottage of darkness? And therefore, I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular. And each name a comfortable music in the mouth, tending, as all music does, toward silence. And each body a lion of courage, and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say, all my life, I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. When it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made something of my life particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightened or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world. Linda did not simply visit this world. She made of life something in particular. For me, neighbor, colleague, and most of all, a dear, dear friend. A beautiful tapestry through the years with so many colorful threads of our times woven through it. I honor her as part of my life, from my perspectives and in my words, knowing that many of the qualities I speak of and the stories and examples and memories are qualities experienced by you, though each with different stories, examples, and memories, because each of us is to another a unique individual creating a unique relationship. There are undoubtedly qualities that you would be able to add to my list. There are so many years of her life before I knew her, childhood, adolescence, 20s, and so many parts of her life that I was not part of. How I wish I could speak to those years, but those of you who know her hold those stories. This is a coming together of oneness in our love and affection and respect and joy and so much more as a beautiful benefit of Linda being in our lives. I have to just stop and say, I love this photo. It is so Linda, as are all of the photos that represent the different pieces of her life. But I walked in this morning and I just thought, here you are right here with us. Linda and I were neighborhood acquaintances, and I really didn't know her for a while after I moved into the neighborhood. But one day I was working on my tree lawn, and Linda happened to walk by, and we began a conversation. I don't know what we talked about, probably working in our yards, because we always talked about working in our yards, and we were always working in our yards. And as I talked with her, I somehow let her know that I was looking for an assistant teacher to work with me in what was then the Project Pegasus program in the Cleveland Heights University Heights system. And Linda said that she would be interested in that position. It wasn't long before she moved in from neighbor to colleague, and then into the treasured space of one of my closest friends. From Pegasus, we went to Laurel as a team. When I met with Leah Reese, then headmistress, I said that if she would like to have me on the faculty, I could guarantee that she would like to have Linda too. We were a team. And it happened. I remember as if it was yesterday, our kid-like crazy joy. We were really and truly like two little kids in that moment. And we were rejoicing that our paychecks had gone up just a little bit. And thus began Linda's long tenure at Laurel, one of commitment, passion, joy, fun, collegiality, and so much more. I have been gone from Laurel, going on 13 years. So I know there are hundreds of stories that I do not even know of Linda's work and connections. For she was someone who connected easily and with a gift of casualness that put people at ease. As my colleague, Linda was a perfect antidote, complement, and even lifesaver at times to my more global vision, dreams, and more than occasional procrastination. It wasn't that I didn't get things done. I just didn't get them done on Linda's timeline. Most of you here who know her quite well, it is no secret that if you wanted to accomplish details and have a chief organizer for anything, Linda was that person. There are no others who rise in my life to the level of get to it and stick to it that Linda possessed. And I am sure I am not the only one who gave her a hard time about it. I have thought of the many vacations which, when I walked out the school doors, I felt the breath of freedom. Who wants to think about work for a week or 2 weeks or summer? Until the phone rang, or we'd get together for vacation coffee at one of our houses, the sidewalk worn on a path between them, and Linda would begin to talk about ordering and planning and making sure of this or that. I have a visual of her mind as one gigantic planner. I clearly recall, again, almost as if it was yesterday, looking at her and saying, "Linda, we just started vacation." And she would say, "I know, but..." Planning and attention to details were beautiful gifts of hers, and one for which she could be completely counted on. How immensely grateful I was and am for her mind, her heart, her commitment, her tenacity, her sense of humor, and her place in the whole life of the school. Our working together was not so much of the details. It was really a dance, and the details were off to the side. I'm not a dancer, so I am not sure which dance it resembled. But it was one in which we knew each other so well and functioned so automatically together in a classroom of children that our days flowed fairly seamlessly. Without words, we were just able to do, to pick up on what was needed in the moment. We also complemented one another in the dance of talking with parents about their children, each of us bringing perspectives which, when combined, gave a true picture of the whole child. That is exactly the kind of teaching partner Linda was. Linda was gold, even though she wore a lot of silver. Linda was always on, and our days and sometimes nights and weekends and vacations were devoted to giving children the gift of the highest quality educational experience and knowing each of them personally. A side benefit was that our days were filled with genuine fun together, and just a couple of things we even talked about on the phone recently. I don't know why we did this, really. We had been working with 3-year-olds for a long time, but one year we decided to be clowns for Halloween. And we were so clowny that our entire faces were painted. I can't tell you how many 3-year-olds did not want to come into our room that day. Now, you would think we would have known, and I think we took turns and hurried to the bathroom to take the face makeup off so that they would actually want to come in and be part of the celebration. Linda was great for getting us unusual animals. We had hermit crabs, 1 or 2 of which got lost in the walls of a school in Cleveland Heights, University Heights, because they crawled so fast that we couldn't catch them, and under the molding or something it went. And we had an African hedgehog. Linda was the master of keeping that African hedgehog and knew just how to handle it and rub its furry tummy. She always had something unique to bring to the classroom setting. Another thing I was thinking about, and it may seem very odd, but it is something we've laughed about over the years. One year we had some boys who were at an age where they loved to kind of explore what each other looked like. And so somehow they would manage to go behind a bookcase in our classroom or some other space in the room, and we became like 2 men in a truck movers. We were switching things around and just trying to make this go away as soon as it could. And so there were just so many instances that we had together of in the moment, which is always what you have when you're teaching together, and what fun and how much laughter we had. While the 2 of us as a team changed when I shifted into administration, the conversations did not end, either at school or at home. And I know and knew that Linda remained faithful to the call of being present to the children and to the parents in the most important ways. She loved Laurel, her colleagues, the families, the Butler campus where she could revel in all the magnificence of nature and relish introducing children to its wonders. Can you imagine how many stories Linda would be able to sit here and tell after 28 years? A longtime resident and integral part of the neighborhood, Linda was an anchor and a presence, knowing everyone, friend to all, and caring deeply about the lives who lived around her. It is as if an irreplaceable tree has come down, and all who live on Middlehurst Road will keenly feel the vacant space. Each Christmas Eve for years, she and Andy took on making luminaries and lined all of Middlehurst. The drive and the walk down Somerton and Middlehurst on that night was stunning, and I recall standing outside just taking in the beauty. Linda was a lover of beauty of all kinds. Music was a natural extension of Linda's life, with Rob's group, Lost Bob and the Ozone Ramblers, and often music from their house would drift down the street, or she'd say, "I'm going out to listen to the guys play," or "We're going to hear music tonight." That was a part of her lifeblood, and I know that the network of music friends was and is important and wide. Linda and Rob, for many, many years, were active, devoted supporters of the Therapeutic Riding Center at Fieldstone Farm. That was a very integral part of her life and Rob's life together. As for being her friend, and vice versa, I cannot say enough. But I can say that over the many years, we have talked about everything. And we have likely resolved nothing. We have laughed, we have cried, we have supported, we have agreed, we have disagreed, we have been inseparable, we have been distanced, and most of all, we have loved. All of the things that close friends do together. She was always there, and I was always there, even if weeks or months or years were between. Just Wednesday night, I saw a great quote that I had to add to my comments. It's about relationships, and the quote is, "Knowing who your road dogs are, no matter the distance you travel together, makes every journey an adventure and every trip worth taking." Linda was an amazing road dog. Two other quotes barely sum up my friendship with Linda. One by Sarah Orne Jewett. "Yes'm, old friends is best, lest you can catch a new one that's fit to make an old one out of." And a second by Dorothy Parker. "Constant use will not wear ragged the fabric of our friendship." I treasured and will treasure her presence, for her presence remains in my life, even though physically she is no longer here. I can hear her voice, I can see her expressions, I know almost exactly what she'll say in any given moment. And so it will be as I carry our friendship in a new design, one I never expected to come so fast or with such shock. But it is, and I want to step into it beautifully, as she would. Linda, daughter, sister, wife, mother, mother-in-law, aunt, niece, cousin, neighbor, friend, colleague, community presence, almost like who in Cleveland Heights does not know Linda Kaplan? And integral to the Therapeutic Riding Center at Fieldstone Farm, avid gardener, nature lover, reader, immersed in music, devoted to her pets, artistic, eccentric, dazzling with her turquoise and silver jewelry, full of life, and always wanting to make everything be as good as it could be in all of those roles. In our last conversation, Linda was having significant trouble breathing. I did not know then that it would be our last conversation together, or I would have said things that I was saving for our visit today. As I relived listening to her struggle, I thought of how much life she breathed into the children, the parents, the colleagues, the family, friends, pets, and people and places. I do not know, because I only know a small part of her life, many of those people and places. She breathed that way because it gave her joy. All of you who are here today have been the recipients of that breath. I did not expect to be the only one speaking, so I would love to kind of change that in this moment. And I'm wondering if there are one or two or perhaps three other people from other walks of Linda's life that I did not know who would like to simply say a couple or three sentences about her. And if so, I would invite you to come up here. I know they're taping the service today. I hope that doesn't intimidate you. I think it would be great to hear from someone who really knows Linda in a way differently than I did, and then I will finish my comments. So if there's anyone who would like to come up, please do, and if not, that is perfectly acceptable. It's hard to find words, isn't it? It is so hard to find words. To her husband of 45 years, Rob, son Andy, her mother Dorothy, her brother Tim and sister-in-law Vicky, nieces Krista and Kelsey, her aunt Kathy and husband Dave, and cousins Damien and Erica, and the newest member of the family, Andy's wife, Molly. How glad she was when you came into Andy's life and into hers, and how she adored you. There is a huge void, one in this moment that is a bit of a blur. I know as you begin the process of accepting and adjusting. I do not diminish the immensity of that. Linda leaves an empty place at the family table in physical presence. Know and hold on to how much she treasured you and how committed to you she was. I know because I heard her express it, and she talked about you all the time. She was a being who loved home and everything about home, and that, more than Laurel or anything else, was where her heart was and will reside in a new way. She is undoubtedly going to make sure, in some way or ways, that you still hear her voice. Life is messy and painful and catches us by surprise as it has now, in ways we would never have beckoned. And life is beautiful, spectacular, and magnificent, and everything in between. Linda lived it all fully. Let us celebrate her fully. As we close this time, I invite each of you individually to just take a moment and send Linda a silent and glorious thank you for her place in your life. I imagine Linda as a kaleidoscope with myriad facets, colors, and designs, far more than just one thing in each of your lives. So let's just take a moment and thank her in your own way. Ann Klotz, headmistress of Laurel, closed her letter to the Laurel community about Linda's passing with this quote from the benediction of a minister Ann knows and admires, and it is so apt. Life is short, and we do not have too much time to gladden the hearts of those who travel with us. So be swift to love and make haste to be kind. Fly, Linda, fly, free, free, free of pain and suffering. You bless this world immensely through your presence. This concludes the service. I know that Michael is going to come and speak for just a moment, but may we all go in peace and be in peace and celebrate this magnificent, magnificent woman who I will carry here for the rest of my life.
Again, thank you everyone for being here to share your time with the family and giving them your comfort, and soon I'm sure many of the stories that you're going to share. At this time, this will conclude all of our services here. You may exit, if you wish, to the front of the chapel or to the rear of the chapel, as you wish, depending on where you parked. Thank you again for attending.